The gift arrived in a transport pod, which was unusual enough to draw attention in the imperial palace. Princess Erin stood in her receiving chamber, watching as the servants opened the container. Inside was a human. He was small by Valoran standards, barely reaching the height of her shoulder. His skin was a light brown color, and his hair was dark and cut short. He wore simple gray clothing that marked him as property of the Empire. When he stepped out of the pod, he looked around the chamber with calm eyes, not showing fear or excitement. "Just looking. This is your naming ceremony gift, Your Highness," said the servant master, a tall Valoran with blue skin and silver markings. "From Lord Koresh of the military fleet. A human male aged 28 in their years, fully trained in service protocols." Erin looked at the human with little interest. She had heard about humans. They were the new fashion among the noble class, exotic servants from a species that had only been discovered 30 years ago. They lived less than a century, which seemed pointless to Erin. Why would anyone want a servant who would die so quickly? She had servants who had been with her family for thousands of years. "What is your name?" she asked, speaking aloud. Humans could not hear telepathic speech, which was another inconvenience. "Hyun, Your Highness," the human said. His voice was steady. "Do you know how to serve a Valoran princess?" "I was taught the protocols, yes." Erin nodded to the servant master, who bowed and left the chamber. The other servants followed, leaving her alone with the human. She walked slowly around him, studying this creature. He did not tremble or lower his eyes too much. He watched her, watching him. "You do not seem afraid," Erin said. "Should I be, Your Highness?" The question surprised her. Servants did not ask questions. They answered them. Most creatures fear the royal family. "We can end your life with a thought." "You could," Hyun agreed, "but you have not given me a reason to think you will." Erin stopped walking. She had lived for 847 years, and in all that time no servant had ever spoken to her this way, not with disrespect, but with something else. Equality, as if he thought they were having a conversation between two thinking beings. "You are very strange," she said finally. "I have been told that before." Over the next weeks, Erin found herself talking to Hyun more than she talked to her own family. It was partly because he could not hear her telepathically, which meant she had to actually speak. Valorans rarely spoke aloud to each other. They used their minds. But speaking to Hyun was different. She had to choose her words carefully, and he had to listen carefully. It made their conversations feel more real somehow. Hyun told her about Earth, the human homeworld. It was a planet that had nearly destroyed itself in wars. The humans had fought each other for thousands of their years, building weapons that could kill millions at once. Finally, they had damaged their world so badly that they had to leave, spreading out to colony ships in distant planets. "We are very good at destruction," Hyun said one evening as he brought her the traditional tea. "It is one of our talents." "Why did you fight so much?" Erin asked. "Because we do not have time not to fight. A human life is maybe 80 years. That is nothing to you, I know. But to us it is everything. We cannot wait centuries to solve problems. We cannot spend thousands of years thinking about the right choice. We have to act now today because tomorrow we might be dead." Erin thought about this. Valorans lived for thousands of years. Her father, the Monarch, was over 6,000 years old. Change happened slowly in the Empire because there was no rush. A decision could take decades. A new law might be discussed for a century before being approved. Time meant nothing when you had so much of it. "That sounds exhausting," she said. "It is," Hyun agreed. "But it also means we build things quickly. We learn quickly. We love quickly, because we cannot afford to wait." 3 months after Hyun arrived, there was a great banquet in the palace. All the noble families came to celebrate the monarch's latest victory over a rebellious system. Erin attended as required, wearing her formal robes and crown. Hyun stood behind her chair, as was proper for a personal servant. Lord Koresh, the military commander who had given her Hyun as a gift, approached her table. He was ancient even by Valoran standards, over 3,000 years old. His skin was deep purple and his eyes glowed with telepathic power. "I see you kept the human princess," he said, speaking aloud so Hyun could hear. "I was not sure you would. They are so temporary." "He serves well enough," Erin said neutrally. "They are becoming quite popular among the nobles," Koresh continued, "though I wonder if it is wise. These creatures have such strange ideas. They speak of things like freedom and individual rights, dangerous concepts for slaves to discuss. Erin felt Hyun tense behind her, though he did not move or speak. She found herself irritated by Koresh's words, though she could not say exactly why. Another noble, Lady Vesh, laughed from across the table. They are meat that thinks it matters. Nothing more. In a century they will all be dead, and we will still be here, eternal and perfect. Several nobles joined in the laughter. Erin looked back at Hyun. His face was calm, but she could see something in his eyes. Not anger exactly, more like sadness. Or maybe disappointment. I find him interesting, Erin said loudly enough to stop the laughter. He has taught me things about time and purpose that I never considered before. Perhaps if we listened to temporary creatures more often, we might learn why urgency matters. The table went silent. Nobles did not defend their servants, especially not human servants. Lady Vesh looked shocked. Lord Koresh raised one eyebrow but said nothing. Later that night, after the banquet ended, the monarch himself came to Erin's chambers. This was highly unusual. The monarch rarely visited anyone privately. He stood in her doorway, tall and powerful, his silver robes glowing with embedded light. "Father," Erin said, bowing her head respectfully. "I heard what you said at the banquet," the monarch said. "You defended your human. Yes, why?" Erin looked over at Hyun, who had stepped back into the shadows to give them privacy, though he could not hear their telepathic conversation anyway. "I am not sure I can explain it, Father. He is different, not because he is human, but because of how he thinks, how he sees the world." The monarch followed her gaze. "He is just a servant. A temporary one, perhaps," Erin said. "But in 3 months he has made me think more about my own life than I have in 800 years. Is that not worth something?" The monarch was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Be careful, daughter. These humans are not like other species. They spread ideas like disease, ideas that could change our empire in ways we cannot predict. Would that be so terrible?" Erin asked. Her father did not answer. He simply turned and left, his robes trailing behind him like silver water. Erin stood alone in her chamber except for Hyun, who emerged from the shadows. "Thank you for what you said at the banquet," he said quietly. "I only spoke the truth." "Truth is dangerous, Your Highness. Especially truth about people like me." Erin looked at him. "Then perhaps we need more danger in this empire." Hyun smiled, and for the first time since he arrived, Erin thought she saw hope in his eyes. The seasons changed on the capital world, though Erin barely noticed anymore. Time had always been something that simply passed like water flowing in a river. But now with Hyun in her life, she had started to pay attention to days and weeks. Humans measured time differently. They counted it, treasured it, feared it. One morning, Hyun brought her the daily reports as usual, but he seemed distracted. Erin noticed small things about him now that she never would have noticed about her other servants. The way his hands moved when he was thinking, the slight changes in his voice when something bothered him. "What troubles you?" she asked. "My sister is being brought to the palace today," Hyun said. "I have not seen her in 4 years." Erin had not known Hyun had a sister. She realized she had never asked about his family. To Velaran's, family bonds weakened over centuries. She had not spoken to her own sister in 50 years, and it meant nothing. But Hyun's face showed real emotion. "You may have the afternoon to spend with her," Erin said. Hyun looked surprised. "Your Highness is very generous. What is her name?" "Dae, she is a biologist. The Empire is bringing her here to study the gardens in the southern wing." When Dae arrived, Erin watched from a balcony as the siblings reunited in the courtyard below. Hyun ran to his sister and they embraced tightly. They held each other for a long time, and Erin could see Dae was crying. They spoke quickly in their human language, touching each other's faces as if to make sure the other was real. This intensity confused Erin. They had only been separated for 4 years. That was nothing. But to them it was everything. 4 years was 1/20th of a human lifetime. It was as if Erin had not seen her sister for 400 years. She felt something strange watching them. Not jealousy exactly, but something close. A sense that she was missing something important. That evening, Erin invited both Hyun and Dae to dine with her privately. This was unheard of. Princesses did not dine with servants. But Erin found she did not care about protocol anymore. Dae was smaller than Hyun, with long dark hair and intelligent eyes. She was nervous at first, but Hyun put her at ease, and soon they were all talking. Dae told stories about their childhood on a colony ship, how they had played in the narrow corridors, how their mother had taught them to read using old books saved from Earth. She died 6 years ago, Day said softly. She was only 58. Humans call that young. I am sorry, Aaron said, and she meant it. She lived well, Hyun said. That is what matters. Aaron thought about her own mother, who was 4,000 years old and lived in the Western Palace. They exchanged formal messages twice a year. There was no urgency to see each other. They had forever. But these humans had already lost their mother, and they spoke of her with such fierce love that it made Aaron's chest hurt. They cared so deeply because they had so little time to care. Every moment mattered. Every goodbye might be the last goodbye. Over the following weeks, Day worked in the palace gardens while Hyun continued his duties. Aaron spent time with both of them, learning about human philosophy and culture. Day explained how humans thought about life and death. We know we are going to die, Day said. Every human knows this from childhood. We live maybe 80 years if we are lucky. So we have to decide what to do with that time. We cannot waste it. We cannot wait for perfect moments. We have to create meaning now, today, because there might not be a tomorrow. Is that not terrifying? Aaron asked. Sometimes, Day admitted. But it also makes life beautiful. Nothing is permanent, so everything is precious. Aaron struggled to understand this. For Valorans, everything was permanent. The Empire had stood for 10,000 years. Her father had ruled for 6,000. Change happened so slowly that it was barely noticeable. But humans built entire civilizations in less time than a Valoran took to make a single important decision. You said humans are good at destruction, Aaron said to Hyun one day. But you are also good at creation, are you not? You build so quickly. We have to, Hyun said. We build for our children and grandchildren. We plant trees we will never see grow tall. We start projects we know we cannot finish, because we believe in something beyond our own lives. This concept fascinated Aaron. Valorans lived long enough to see all their projects completed. They did not build for future generations because they were the future generations, but humans built for people who did not exist yet. They had faith in time they would never experience. One evening, Lord Koresh visited the palace again. He requested a private meeting with Aaron, and she received him in her formal chamber. The old commander looked grave. There is trouble in the outer systems, he said without preamble. A rebellion has started. Slave species are rising against their Valoran masters. Which species? Aaron asked, though she felt a cold certainty before he answered. It started with the humans, Koresh said, but they have spread their ideas to others. The Draylen, the Kuroth, even some of the insect hives. They are teaching them words like freedom and rights and democracy. Dangerous ideas. How many systems? Aaron asked. 3 so far. But it is growing. The human leader calls herself Jiwoo. She was a slave on a mining station, but she escaped and now she commands thousands. Not just humans. All species. Aaron felt her hearts beat faster. She looked at Hyun, who stood in his usual place by the wall. He could not hear their telepathic conversation, but he was watching carefully. What do they want? Aaron asked. Freedom. An end to slavery. Representation in the council. Things that would destroy the structure of our empire. Koresh leaned forward. Princess, you must understand. Humans are a contamination. They infect other species with rebellion. Their short lives make them fearless. They do not care about consequences because they will not live long enough to see them. Or perhaps, Aaron said slowly, they care more about consequences because they will not live long enough to escape them. They want change now because they do not have time to wait centuries for it. Koresh looked at her with ancient eyes. You have been spending too much time with your human. He has changed you. Perhaps I needed changing. The commander stood. The monarch must act soon. This rebellion cannot be allowed to spread. We will crush it, and we will make examples of the human leaders. That includes any humans in the palace who might be sympathetic to the cause. After Koresh left, Aaron sat in silence for a long time. Finally, she spoke aloud. Hyun, did you know about the rebellion? I have heard rumors, Your Highness. Tell me the truth. Do you support it? Hyun was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I support my people's desire to be free, but I serve you faithfully. Those two things are complicated and I do not know how to resolve them. Aaron appreciated his honesty. What is Jiwoo like? Do you know her? I knew of her before I came here. She was a teacher on the colony ships. She taught children about Earth history, about the old struggles for freedom that humans fought long ago. She believes those struggles matter again now. And you? What do you believe? Hyun looked directly at her. I believe that no intelligent being should be property. I believe that serving should be a choice, not a condition of birth. But I also believe that change does not have to come through violence, that there might be another way. What way? I do not know yet, Your Highness. But I hope we find it. That night, Erin could not sleep. She stood on her balcony, looking out at the capital city. The lights of the palace and the surrounding towers glowed against the dark sky. This was eternal civilization. This was order. But was it right? She thought about Day and Hyun embracing in the courtyard. She thought about their mother, dead at 58 but loved fiercely. She thought about Ji-woo, teaching children about freedom in the dark spaces between stars. And she thought about her own life, 800 years long, and how little of it had mattered until 3 months ago, when a human named Hyun stepped out of a transport pod and looked at her with calm, equal eyes. The summons came at dawn. A royal messenger arrived at Erin's chambers with a formal tablet bearing her father's seal. The monarch requested her presence in the throne room immediately. The Council of Eternals would be assembled. Her attendance was mandatory. Erin dressed in her formal robes, the heavy fabric uncomfortable after months of wearing simpler clothing around Hyun. She looked at him as he helped arrange the ceremonial pieces. His hands were steady, but she could see tension in his shoulders. You know what this is about, she said. It was not a question. The rebellion, Hyun said quietly. They will ask you about humans, about me. What should I tell them? Hyun met her eyes. Tell them the truth, Your Highness. Whatever that truth is for you. The throne room was the largest chamber in the palace, with ceilings so high they disappeared into shadow. The walls were carved from single pieces of crystal that glowed with internal light. At the far end, the monarch sat on the eternal throne, a seat that had held every ruler for 10,000 years. The Council of Eternals stood in a semicircle below the throne. 12 ancient Velerans, each more than 4,000 years old. They were the wisest beings in the Empire, the keepers of law and tradition. Erin had always found them cold and distant, but now they watched her with sharp interest. Lord Koresh stood among them, his purple skin darker than usual in the crystal light. Princess Erin, the monarch said, his voice filling the room without effort. Come forward. Erin walked down the long path to the throne. Protocol demanded she come alone, but she had brought Hyun anyway. He walked 3 steps behind her, as proper for a personal servant. She heard whispers from the council but ignored them. When she reached the base of the throne, she bowed her head. Father, we have called you here to discuss a matter of great importance, the monarch said. The human rebellion in the outer systems grows stronger. They have taken 5 systems now. They do not simply resist. They transform. They teach other species their ways. They spread ideas that threaten the foundation of our empire. I have heard, Father. You have spent much time with humans, more than any other member of the royal family. You have a human servant who stands even now behind you in this sacred space. The monarch leaned forward on his throne. Tell us, daughter, what makes your human different? Why do you defend his kind when they cause such disruption to our order? The question hung in the air. This was the moment the entire conversation had been building toward. Erin could feel the weight of every eye in the room. The council, the guards, her father on his eternal throne. And behind her, Hyun, who could not hear the telepathic conversation, but who surely understood its importance. Erin took a breath. She had lived 800 years. She had never questioned the empire or its ways, but 3 months with Hyun had changed something fundamental inside her. Father, honored council, she began, speaking aloud so Hyun could hear. You ask what makes my human different. The answer is complicated. We have time, the monarch said dryly. We always have time. That is exactly the problem, Erin said. We have so much time that we have forgotten what it means to value it. Humans live for perhaps 80 years. That is less than 0.1% of your life, Father. To us, they are mayflies, brief, temporary, meaningless. That is correct, said one of the council members, an ancient female named Varesh. They are temporary. Why should we value temporary things? Because they choose to matter anyway, Aaron said. Humans know they will die. Every human child learns about death. They know their time is limited. And instead of despairing, they build civilizations. They create art. They love fiercely. They fight for causes they will never see completed. They plant trees they will never sit beneath. Foolishness, Koresh said. They waste energy on pointless dreams. Is it pointless? Aaron asked. In the 3 months Hyun has served me, I have learned more about purpose than I learned in the previous 800 years. He has taught me about urgency, about making choices that matter now, not in a century, about caring deeply because time is precious. These are the dangerous ideas we speak of, Varesh said. You see how they contaminate even a princess? Aaron felt anger rise in her chest, hot and unfamiliar. Contaminate? Or enlighten? When was the last time this council made a decision quickly? When was the last time any of us did something that mattered right now, today, instead of planning for a future centuries away? We plan for eternity, the monarch said calmly. That is our strength. And that is our weakness, Aaron said. The words came out before she could stop them. The throne room went silent. No one contradicted the monarch, but Aaron continued. We are so busy planning for eternity that we forget to live in the present. We have become so patient that we have stopped caring. When was the last time any of us felt true urgency, true passion, true fear that we might lose something precious? She turned and gestured to Hyun. This human will be dead in 50 years, probably less. To you, Father, that is nothing. A blink. But to him it is everything. And he chooses to spend that precious time serving me faithfully, even though I am part of a system that enslaves his people. He could hate me. He could work against me, but instead he teaches me. He talks with me as an equal even though protocol says he is property. Then he is insubordinate, Koresh said. No, Aaron said firmly. He is honest, and his honesty has shown me something we have forgotten. Every intelligent being deserves to choose how they spend their time, whether that time is 80 years or 8,000 years. The monarch was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke directly to Hyun. Human, step forward. Hyun moved to stand beside Aaron. He kept his eyes respectfully lowered, but his stance was straight, unafraid. You can hear me speaking? The monarch asked. Yes, Your Majesty. Do you believe your kind will supplant us? Do you think these temporary creatures will replace eternal Valerans? Hyun was silent for a moment. Aaron could see him choosing his words carefully. Finally he spoke. No, Your Majesty. We will be dead long before that matters. Humans are not trying to replace Valerans. We are trying to exist alongside you, to contribute what we can in the brief time we have. And what can you contribute? Asked Varesh. What can mayflies offer to eternity? Change, Hyun said simply. Innovation, urgency. We see problems and solve them quickly because we must. We do not have the luxury of debating for centuries. We try things, we fail, we learn, we try again. All in the span of a single generation. Reckless, Koresh muttered. Perhaps, Hyun agreed. But also effective. In the outer systems where my people lead the rebellion, things are changing. Not just politically, technologically, socially. Species that served the Empire for thousands of years without advancing are now innovating every month. Because humans taught them something you have forgotten. That progress does not require eternity. It requires urgency. You speak dangerously, human, the monarch said, but his voice was thoughtful, not angry. I speak truthfully, Your Majesty. The princess asked me to. The monarch looked at his daughter. He is bold. I see why you value him. But boldness is not the same as wisdom. Maybe wisdom is overrated, Aaron said, and immediately regretted it. But then she saw something strange. Her father's lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile, but close. Perhaps, the monarch said. Or perhaps wisdom requires us to listen to those who see time differently than we do. He stood from the eternal throne, and everyone in the room bowed automatically. Council, I will consider this matter carefully. The human rebellion is not simply a military problem. It is a philosophical one. We cannot defeat an idea with weapons alone. You would negotiate with slaves? Koresh asked, shocked. I would understand them, the monarch said. Princess Aaron, you will prepare a full report on human culture, philosophy, and capabilities. Use your servant as a primary source. I want to understand what makes these creatures so disruptive and so compelling. He turned to leave, then paused. And daughter, thank you for your honesty. It has been refreshing. After the monarch and council left, Aaron stood alone with Hyun in the vast throne room. Her hearts were beating fast. She had just challenged the eternal order in front of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. She had defended a human. She had suggested that 800 years of her life had taught her less than 3 months with a temporary creature. That was either very brave or very foolish, Hyun said softly. Probably both, Aaron agreed. But I meant every word. I know you did, Your Highness. That is what makes you different from other Velerans. What makes me different? Hyun smiled. You learned to see time the way humans do, not as an endless river, but as precious drops. That is a rare gift for an eternal being. Aaron looked up at the throne, empty now but still powerful. I think my father is curious, truly curious. That gives me hope. Hope is another human concept, Hyun said. Then perhaps I am becoming contaminated after all, Aaron said, and found she did not mind at all. The alert came 3 weeks after the throne room meeting. Aaron was in her chambers reviewing cultural data with Hyun and Dae when the entire palace shook. Not physically, but telepathically. Every Veleran in the capital felt it at once. A massive psychic warning that meant only one thing. Invasion. Aaron ran to her balcony. In the sky above the capital, ships were appearing. Not Valoran ships. These were organic, twisted things that looked like they had been grown rather than built. The Kresh swarm. No, Aaron breathed. They are supposed to be in the far sectors, years away from the core systems. Hyun and Dae joined her on the balcony. They could not feel the telepathic alarm, but they could see the ships. More kept appearing, blocking out the sun. What are they? Dae asked. The Kresh, a hive mind species. They consume everything in their path. The Empire has been fighting them for 2 years in the Outer Rim, but they have never come this close to the capital before. The palace shook again, this time physically. Explosions bloomed in the distance. The Kresh were attacking the orbital defense platforms. Your Highness, we must get you to safety, said the captain of her guard, bursting into the chamber. What about the humans? Aaron asked. All the humans in the palace? They are servants. We will evacuate the royal family first. No, Aaron said firmly. Everyone evacuates together or I do not evacuate at all. The captain looked shocked but nodded. As you command. The evacuation was chaos. Thousands of beings pouring through the palace corridors toward the underground shelters. Aaron stayed with Hyun and Dae, making sure no humans were left behind. She saw fear in their faces, but also something else. Determination. The shelters were deep beneath the palace, carved into the planet's bedrock. They were designed to hold the population for months if necessary. Aaron found herself crowded into a command center with other nobles and military officers. Screens showed the battle above. The Valoran fleet was engaging the Kresh, but they were losing. How did they get here so fast? Lord Koresh demanded. He looked older than usual, his purple skin pale with stress. They learned, said a military analyst. They changed their tactics. Instead of slow consumption, they jumped directly to core systems. It is unprecedented. How long can the fleet hold? The monarch asked. He had arrived in the command center, calm as always, but Aaron could sense his concern through the telepathic link all Valorans shared. 3 days, Koresh said. Maybe 4. Then they will reach the surface. And then? Koresh was silent. Everyone knew what happened when the Kresh reached a planet's surface. They consumed everything. Every living being. Every structure. They left behind dead worlds. "We need to evacuate the planet," Varesh said. "Get as many people off-world as possible." "There is not enough time," the Monarch said. "We need a new strategy, something the Kresh have not seen before." That was when Aaron heard a human voice from across the command center. "I might have an idea." Everyone turned. It was a human male Aaron did not recognize. He was older than Hyun, with gray in his hair and scars on his face. He wore maintenance clothing, marking him as one of the palace technicians. "Who are you?" Koresh demanded. "My name is Taeyang," the human said. "I worked as a military strategist before I was captured and enslaved. I have been watching your fleet's tactics. No disrespect intended, but they are terrible." The command center went silent. Nobles did not accept criticism, especially not from human slaves, but the Monarch surprised everyone. "Explain." Taeyang stepped forward, moving to the main display. "You fight like beings with endless time. Your formations are perfect, your movements are coordinated, but you are too slow. By the time you react to Kresh movements, they have already adapted. They are a hive mind. They think and move as one. You need to be faster, more chaotic, more unpredictable." "Chaos is not strategy," Koresh said coldly. "It is when you are fighting a hive mind," Taeyang countered. "They expect order. They count on being able to predict your movements. But what if you stopped being predictable? What if you attacked from every angle at once with no pattern, no coordination? Individual ships making individual decisions? That is madness," said the fleet admiral. "Our strength is in unity." "Your unity is your weakness against this enemy," Taeyang said. "The Kresh unite. You need to divide. Confuse them. Make them react to 1,000 small threats instead of one large one." Aaron watched her father consider this. She saw the moment he made his decision. "How many humans in the palace have military experience?" the Monarch asked. "At least 50, Aaron said. She had been researching human backgrounds for her report. "Gather them," the Monarch said. "All of them. I am releasing every human slave in the capital city. They have a choice. They can evacuate to the outer systems beyond Kresh reach, or they can stay and help us fight." The command center erupted in protests. Nobles arguing, military officers objecting. This was madness. Releasing slaves during a crisis, trusting them with defense. The Monarch raised his hand and silence fell instantly. "We are facing extinction. The Kresh do not negotiate. They do not retreat. If we cannot stop them here, they will consume world after world until the Empire is nothing but dead space. We need new thinking, human thinking." He turned to Taeyang. "I am giving you command of the defense coordination. Work with our fleet admiral. Show us your chaos." Within hours, the word spread through the shelters. All humans were free. They could leave or stay. Most chose to stay. Aaron stood with Hyun in the command center as humans gathered. Taeyang was already working with a Valoran admiral, planning new attack patterns. Other humans brought ideas, new technologies, different ways of thinking. One human woman, introduced as Yoonji, began coordinating civilian evacuation. She moved faster than any Valoran, making decisions in minutes that would normally take hours. "This is what we do," Hyun said quietly to Aaron. "We adapt. We improvise. We do not have time to plan perfect strategies, so we make imperfect ones work." Over the next 2 days, the battle raged. The Valoran fleet changed its tactics following human coordination. Ships broke formation, attacked individually, retreated unpredictably. The Kresh, expecting the usual orderly Valoran response, struggled to adapt. But the cost was terrible. Ships were destroyed. Thousands died. The Kresh kept coming. On the 3rd day, Taeyang proposed the final strategy. It was desperate. It was dangerous. It required sacrifice. "We need to draw them in close," he explained to the Monarch. "Make them think they are winning. Then we collapse the space around them using the gravity generators. We can create a temporary anomaly, not big enough to destroy them all, but enough to break their coordination. Give us time to strike." "The generators are on the surface," Koresh said. "Someone would need to stay behind to activate them. They would not survive." "I know," Taeyang said calmly. "I will do it. I am old by human standards. 53 years. I have lived well. Let me end well too." No, said another human. A young man. I'm faster. I can activate it quicker. I will help, said Day, stepping forward. Hyun grabbed her arm. No, absolutely not. Brother, we do not have time to argue. This is what we do. We sacrifice for the future. Day looked at Aaron. You taught me something, Princess. You showed me that even eternal beings can learn to value brief lives. Let me prove that brief lives can protect eternal ones. Aaron felt something break inside her chest. There must be another way. There is not, the monarch said quietly. But I will not ask only humans to sacrifice. Valoran volunteers will go as well. If we do this, we do it together. In the end, 20 beings stayed behind on the surface. 15 humans, 5 Valorans. They positioned themselves at the gravity generators while the rest of the population evacuated to the shelters. Aaron watched from the command center as the crash descended. As the generators activated, as space folded in on itself, crushing hundreds of crashed ships, and as the 20 volunteers disappeared in the collapse, the battle turned. The remaining fleet struck hard while the Kresh were disorganized. It took another day, but finally the Kresh retreated. The planet was saved. The cost was enormous. 30% of the human volunteers had died, thousands of Valorans. The capital city was heavily damaged. But they had won. In the aftermath, the monarch stood before the assembled survivors. Noble soldiers, humans, all gathered together. Today we faced extinction, he said. And we survived because humans showed us something we had forgotten. That urgency matters. That sacrifice matters. That sometimes brief flames can save eternal halls. He turned to Tae-Yang, who had survived his mission through sheer luck. I made you a promise. If humans helped us win, they would earn citizenship. I keep my promise. Every human in the Empire is now a free citizen with full rights. The humans erupted in celebration. Tears. Embraces. Aaron saw Hyun standing alone, looking at the place where his sister had been. She went to him. I am sorry about Day, she said. She chose well, Hyun said, his voice thick with grief. She lived 30 years, but those 30 years mattered more than some beings' thousands. Yes, Aaron agreed. They did. 5 years passed. The Empire changed in ways no one could have predicted. Humans held positions in government now. They advised the military. They worked in research facilities, speeding up innovation that had been frozen for centuries. The Council of Eternals now included 2 human representatives who served 20-year terms, their brief tenures bringing fresh perspectives to ancient debates. Aaron walked through the rebuilt capital city, marveling at how different it looked. The architecture mixed Valoran elegance with human practicality. Buildings that would have taken decades to plan were finished in months. The humans had taught the Empire to value speed alongside perfection. She was on her way to meet her father. He had requested her presence in his private chambers, not the throne room. This was unusual but not unheard of. They spoke more often now than they had in centuries. Yun walked beside her, not behind her anymore. As a free citizen, he was not required to follow servant protocols. But he had chosen to stay with Aaron, now as an advisor and friend rather than property. The shift had been strange at first, but now Aaron could not imagine her life any other way. You are nervous, Hyun observed. He knew her well after 5 years. My father does not usually request private meetings without explanation, Aaron said. I wonder what he wants. Perhaps he just wants to talk. Even monarchs need conversation sometimes. The monarch's private chambers were simple compared to the throne room. Books lined the walls, actual physical books from dozens of species. The monarch stood by a window looking out at the city. Father, Aaron said, bowing slightly. The gesture was more habit than requirement in private. Aaron, thank you for coming. And Hyun, please sit. You are a citizen now. You do not need to stand. Hyun sat carefully, still adjusting to his new status. Aaron remained standing, curious about her father's mood. I've been thinking about the question I asked you 5 years ago, the monarch said, in the throne room before the council. Do you remember? I remember, Father. You asked what made my human different, and you answered. But I did not truly understand your answer until recently. The monarch turned from the window. I have spent 6,000 years as monarch. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have made decisions that affected trillions of beings. But until the Kresh invasion, I had never felt true urgency, true fear that I might lose something precious. The invasion changed everyone, Aaron said. It did, but more than that, humans changed me, watching them fight, watching them sacrifice, seeing how they valued every moment because they knew how few moments they had. The monarch sat in a simple chair, gesturing for Aaron to sit as well. When you said my human in the throne room, I thought you meant it as a possessive. As if Hyun were property you valued. I did not mean it that way, Aaron said. I know. I understand now. You meant it the way one says, my friend. My reminder that time matters. My proof that brief flames can light eternal halls. The monarch smiled slightly. I believe those were your words. You remember them. I remember everything you said that day. It was the first time in centuries anyone challenged me. The first time anyone suggested our eternal nature might be a weakness instead of a strength. He looked at Hyun. You have taught my daughter well. Your Highness taught herself, Hyun said respectfully. I only provided a different perspective. A valuable perspective. Which is why I am implementing new policies. Human advisors will be assigned to every major governmental department, not as servants but as equals. Their short tenures will force us to make decisions more quickly, to value immediate action alongside long-term planning. Erin felt pride swell in her chest. This was more than she had hoped for. There is something else, the monarch continued. Jiwoo, the rebellion leader, has requested a meeting. She wants to discuss full integration of the outer systems back into the Empire, but with new terms. Human representation, species rights, democratic reforms. Will you meet with her? Aaron asked. I already have. We spoke for 3 days. She is remarkable. Fierce and intelligent and utterly unafraid of me. She reminds me of you. The monarch stood and walked to a shelf, pulling down a small device. She gave me this. A human chronometer. She said it would help me remember that every second matters. He placed the device on his desk. It ticked quietly, counting time. I have lived 6,000 years, the monarch said. I never counted seconds before. Now I find myself watching them pass. Each one unique. Each one precious. The humans have taught me to see time differently. Aaron looked at the chronometer. It was simple, mechanical, utterly human, and beautiful. Later that evening, Aaron and Hyun walked through the palace gardens. They were rebuilt now, incorporating plants from dozens of worlds, including Earth. Day had designed these gardens before she died, and the palace had completed them as a memorial to her and the other humans who sacrificed themselves. My father has changed, Aaron said. I never thought I would see it. Everyone can change, Hyun said. Even eternal beings. It just takes the right catalyst. You were my catalyst, and you were mine. Hyun stopped walking. Your Highness, Aaron, I need to tell you something. Aaron noticed his serious tone. What is it? A colony ship has been found. It was lost for 30 years. They finally located it in deep space. The people on board are alive but struggling. They need help. Engineers, technicians, people who understand old Earth technology. Hyun paused. They have asked me to join the rescue mission. Aaron felt something cold in her chest. How long will you be gone? 2 years. Maybe 3. It is far and the ship is badly damaged. 2 years. For Aaron that was nothing, a blink. But for Hyun it was significant. He was 33 now. 2 or 3 more years meant he would return at 36 or 37. Middle-aged by human standards. Time he could not get back. You want to go, Aaron said. It was not a question. I do. These are my people. They have been lost for 30 years. That is a lifetime for some of them. Their children were born in space, knowing nothing but the inside of that ship. They need help and I can provide it. Hyun looked at her. But I do not want to leave you. Aaron understood the conflict in his voice. Humans were always torn between competing urgencies. Every choice meant giving up something else. Every moment spent in one place was a moment not spent somewhere else. You should go, Aaron said firmly. You have taught me that time is precious. Those people's time is precious too. They need help now. Not in 5 years when we can plan a perfect rescue. They need human urgency. You learned well, Hyun said, smiling slightly. I had a good teacher. They stood in silence for a moment, surrounded by the gardens Dee had designed. The plants were thriving, mixing species that had never grown together before, creating something new. When do you leave? Aaron asked. In 3 days. Then we have 3 days. Let us make them matter. Those 3 days passed too quickly as precious time always does. Aaron spent every moment with Hyun, talking, planning, simply being together. They discussed what the Empire might look like when he returned. how humans and Velerans could continue building something new together. On the morning of his departure, Aaron accompanied him to the spaceport. The ship was large, designed for long-distance rescue operations. Other humans were boarding, along with Valoran volunteers. The Empire had changed. Now they worked together. "I will miss you," Aaron said. She had never said such words to anyone before. Velerans did not miss people. They had forever to see each other again. "I will miss you too," Hyun said. "But I will return. Humans always come back for their friends. Is that what we are? Friends? I hope so. I consider you my closest friend. The person who gave me something I did not know I needed. What did I give you?" "Respect," Hyun said. "You never treated me as property, even when I was technically a slave. You listened to me as an equal. You changed yourself and then you changed your empire because you believed what I said mattered. That is the greatest gift one being can give another." Aaron felt her eyes burn. Velerans rarely cried, but she felt close to it now. "And you gave me urgency. You taught me that 800 years of life meant nothing if I did not value each moment. That eternity is worthless if we do not make it matter." They embraced, not as princess and servant, not even as Valoran and human, simply as two beings who had learned from each other and become better for it. "Return safely," Aaron said. "I will be counting the days." "That is very human of you," Hyun said, smiling. "Perhaps I am becoming contaminated after all." Hyun boarded the ship. Aaron watched as it lifted off, rising into the sky and disappearing among the stars. She stood there long after it was gone, feeling the weight of time in a way she never had before. When she returned to the palace, she went to her chambers. On her desk, she placed a human chronometer, identical to the one her father kept. It ticked quietly, counting seconds, each one bringing Hyun closer to his destination, each one bringing him closer to the moment he would return. She would wait. She had time, but now she knew that having time was not the same as wasting it. The Monarch had been curious about what made humans special. Aaron had answered with two words that meant everything. "My human." Not a possession, a choice. A friend who taught her that intelligence is not measured in years lived, but in how those years are spent. That brief lives can matter as much as eternal ones. That sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from those who know they have the least time. Aaron looked at the chronometer, counting seconds, counting moments, counting time until her friend returned. And for the first time in 852 years, she felt truly alive.